Now, something of an unusual focus for you today. We're taking you to see 18,000 skulls arranged on shelves at the Musée de l'Homme here in Paris. Now, amongst them are the skulls of 36 Algerians killed by French forces as they conquered Algeria over 150 years ago. Amongst them, rebel leaders who were shot and beheaded. Now, though, 60 years after Algeria's independence, calls for them to be repatriated, like Maori heads were to New Zealand in 2012. And the Moreni Laudi, Julian Silverger and Josh Vardy have this report.
Deep in the vaults of the Musée de l'Homme in Paris, 18,000 skulls are neatly arranged on shelves.
These skulls from various collections mostly come from exploration missions that took place during the 19th century.
Of these thousands of skulls, only 500 have been identified. 36 Algerians are among them, including the rebel chief killed and decapitated by the French Expeditionary Corps in the 19th century. All of them were given to the Musée de l'Homme in 1880 by various collectors.
They are scientific objects. However, the fact they have yet to be identified isn't so much a scientific issue as a moral one. They may have descendants, which puts them in a different bracket, not under the rules of science, but more about who their families were.
Even if they are counted as scientific objects, access to the Algerian skulls is tightly restricted. They're all together in a different room, locked out of sight in a metal cupboard.
This is where we have kept all the Algerian skulls since the beginning of the controversy. We have taken them out of the public eye.
Among the skulls are those of Sheriff Boubala, skull number 5940, Essa al-Hamadi, mummified head number 5939, Sheikh Bouzian, skull number 5941, Saim Musa al-Dakhawi, skull number 5942, Mokhtar al-Titawi, skull number 5944. These photos all belong to researcher Ali Farid Belkadi, who discovered the existence of the skulls in March 2011. He instantly recognized that of rebel leader Boubala.
I knew it was Boubala as soon as I saw he was missing a tooth. It fits his description. That's the right-hand side where Boubala received a blow. It's really caved in. That's why we call him Boubala the Blind. We think that these people just shouldn't be here. This isn't the right place to keep people's heads. All because they were fighting to free their country. They weren't thieves. They weren't bandits.
Boubala was well known as the leader of a revolt in Kabylie and often crops up in history books. Here he's represented on this painting by Félix Philippotou from 1866. He was also immortalized by this Algerian film from 2014.
Nous avons été attaqués par les Tolba Outboz, une bande d'insurgés dirigée par Boubala. Préparez-vous à jeter vos forces dans la bataille et qu'on en finisse avec ces Boubala.
The revolt that Sheikh Bouzian led in 1849 in Zarcha was recounted in the book L'Armée d'Afrique by François Quesnoy. This print shows his decapitated head on display as a war trophy along with that of his son and also Saim Musa al-Dakhawi.
This isn't well known and we don't like to think of it like this, but the 19th century was actually incredibly violent, which went some way to preparing for the great European wars of the end of the 19th century and the start of the 20th. The decapitated heads had a double function. They were to show to civilian populations so that those who were fighting back would stop. And at the same time, they were taken back to France as trophies to show that real victories had been won. They were then also studied by anthropologists and ethnologists who took the opportunity to learn about people they had, until then, had little contact with. Afterwards, they found their way into public collections as scientific or military trophies. The silence around these skulls that's lasted up to 60 years has gone on long enough.
The public was first made aware of the skulls in 2011 by a petition, but it had little effect. In May, another was launched by an Algerian university, which this time managed to gather over 30,000 signatures.
It's not about revenge, it's about telling the true story. We need our children and the children of France to know exactly what happened for the good of future generations. The petition is a way of putting pressure on to get these skulls repatriated, so that these Algerian resistance fighters are finally returned home, so that they are finally given a proper burial in the ground they fought on and which they died for.
En Algérie, sur la terre qu'ils ont défendue et pour laquelle ils sont morts.
The skulls are owned by the French state, and only a law or decree could see them released from their bondage. An official demand has to be made by their direct descendants or by the Algerian state. Tracking down direct relations could be complicated due to the amount of time that's passed. Political methods could be faster and prove more effective, but our attempts to get an official position over the skulls from Algerian authorities have so far been met with silence.